So here on the top of Daf Lamed Daled, we're listing mitzvos that are time bound, which means that there's a time period in which you're not chayiv in the mitzvah, and therefore women are exempt. Tefillin, and now we're holding, according to the Manti Omar, that Laila loves man tefillin. However, even if you hold like that Manti Omar in Menachos Daf Lamed Vav and Beis that Zman tefillin gam b'Laila, nevertheless it's a mitzvah sheish zman grom because on Shabbos and Yontiv we don't wear tefillin. So therefore, women are exempt from tefillin mimonavshach, even if Laila zman tefillin. Ve'ezi mitzvah seish lo zman grom. Now we have a parallel list, or at least a partial list, of mitzvahs that are equally obligatory on women as men: mezuzah, makeh, aveda, v'shiluach hakan. None of these mitzvahs are limited in time. The Gemara asks Uklolahu, why is it that the Mishnah seems to give this as a klal? Vare matzah. Let's take the case of matzah, which is a mitzvah seishes my groma clearly, no less than shofar, lulav, and sukkah, and yet women are obligated. And simcha, the mitzvah of simcha b'gimel regola, mitzvah are obligated, even though it's clearly zman groma. Kakel is a mitzvah that women are obligated in. And these are all mitzvahs that seishes zman groma, v'noshim chayavos. So why do you tell me a klal that called mitzvahs that seishes zman groma noshim peturos? That's not really an accurate statement. Now let's just mention the Rambam in his Pirush HaMishnayos. He says that there are many other mitzvahs that are zman groma, and yet women are obligated. For example, tefillah, and a host of mitzvahs d'Rabbanan like Mikra Megillah, Ner Chanukah, Ner Shabbos, and Kiddush Hayom. V'su, and furthermore, in the second klal, where you say that a mitzvah seisha eina zman groma and women are obligated, Harei Talmud Torah is a mitzvah seisha eina zman groma, as it says in Yoshua v'gisa bo yom v'layla, and yet women are exempt. Period v'rivya is not a time-bound mitzvah, and yet it's only obligatory on men and not on women. Pidyon haben, to be pod to the bechar, and we're talking after the 30 days since the baby is born. Lav mitzvah seisha zman groma v'noshim peturos. And according to the klal that we have in our Mishnah, women should be chayav. Our answers on Rabbi Yochanan, ein l'meidim min haklolos. We're not medayik from the language of the Mishnah, the Tana, when he says kol. And vafilu makom shenever b'chutz. And even if the Tana, after the kol, adds chutz, we still are not l'meidim mikach. We don't derive any conclusions for that. And I'll prove it to you from a Mishnah in Eruvin. Tisnan, on Daf Chavav and Beis, and if it says bakol, any food, whether it be pas, yayin, peros, ma'arvin. We could do an Eruv, make an Eruv on Eruv Shabbos. That's called Eruv Chatzeros or Eruv Tchumen. And it ought to be matir, carrying from a house out to a Chatzer or vice versa. We need an Eruv Chatzeros, or an Erev Tchumen if we want to go beyond 2,000 Amma, beyond the outskirts of the city. Umishtatvim, and in Shitufe Muvos, which means we want to be Meshatif, many Muvos together, is Chutz Min Amayim Umelach. And we're saying the fact that there are exceptions to the rule of Bakol Ma'arvin. Mayim and Melech are not to be used for an Eruv. And that's because it's not mazon. It doesn't add anything to the body. Visu leka. And are you telling me that the only exceptions to the rule are Mayim and Melech, and there's nothing else that ein ma'arvin bahem, va'ika kmeinu pitrios, different types of mushrooms, which are not mazin, they don't add anything to the body. And Rabbi Yochanan brings this all as a proof that ein l'meidim min haklolos. Ein l'meidim min haklolos hafilu makom shenever b'chutz. The Mishnah states mitzvah seishes zman groma noshim peturos minolan. What's the source for this principle that women are exempt from time-bound mitzvahs? And the Gemara says, "Gomer mitfilin." We have Bameh Matzinu from Tefillin. Ma Tefillin. Nashim P'turas, as we'll see later on how we derive that conclusion. Af Kol Mitzvah Seishis Man Groma Nashim P'turas. So the paradigmic place of a mitzvah that's Man Groma and Nashim P'turas is Tefillin. And Tefillin Gomer Lo Mitalmid Torah. And how Tefillin now is going to teach us about all mitzvahs, but how do we know that women are exempt from Tefillin? And that's based on a hekesh to Talmud Torah. Where is the hekesh between Tefillin and Talmud Torah? The pasuk says, "V'shinantam levanecha ukshartam lios al yadecha." And ma Talmud Torah nashim p'turos, because the pasuk says, "V'shinantam levanecha v'lo lebnosecha af Tefillin," and Tefillin, which is written right there after "V'shinantam levanecha ukshartam," and the hekesh teaches me nashim p'turos. In fact, the Gemara v'nakish Tefillin lemezuzah. After all, the pasuk after ukshartam liosay yadecha immediately follows uksavtam al mezuz beisecha, and we know that women are obligated in the mitzvah of mezuzah. And the Gemara is going to explain later on how we know that women are obligated in mezuzah. Now, why don't we set up a hekesh between Talmud Torah and between Tefillin and mezuzah? And the Gemara answers, the reason why we have a hekesh of Tefillin to Talmud Torah to teach me that women are patur is because Tefillin Talmud Torah iskish bein beparsha Rishona, whether it's in the first parsha Kriyat Shema, or bein beparsha Shnia, or in the second parsha Kriyat Shema. It says ukshartem osam lios hayedchem v'limanitem osam esbenechem. But Tefillin the mezuzah, that we don't find a hekesh in the first parsha Kriyat Shema, but only parsha Shnia. We only find it in the first parsha Kriyat Shema, but not in the parsha Shnia. Frekti Gemara v'nekesh mezuzah l'Talmud Torah. Why don't we establish that instead of women being exempt from Talmud Torah, we should be mechayev women in Talmud Torah based on a hekesh to mezuzah? Or alternatively, if the pasuk Limanitim Osam B'nechem excludes and exempts the women, B'nechem v'lo b'nosechem, then based on the closeness of the pasuk Ksavtam Beisecha, we should come to the conclusion that women are exempt from the mitzvah mezuzah. Lo sakadai t'chsiv l'man yirvu yemechem. Is gari boy chaye noshi lo boy chaye? Torah says about the mitzvah of tzitzis, arichas yom, women need arichas yom just like men do. Gemara asks, how is it so that the source for the p'tur of noshim, mitzvah seish man grom, is tefillin for a sukkah mitzvah seish man grom and the ksiv sukkah seish shivas yomim, and the derivation for the p'tur of women in sukkah is time of the kosvach mono ha'ezrach lahotzias hanoshim. Holav hachim, not for the drasha in the Brisa in Sukkah Daf Chav Ches, that the hay of ha'ezrach excludes women, then women would be obligated in the mitzvah of Sukkah. Why is that so? Sukkah is a mitzvah seishis my groma. Rabbi Yitzchak, I need a special drasha and a miyut of ha'ezrach with the hay to exclude women from Sukkah. The Torah wants you to live in the sukkah the way you'd live in your house. Ma dira ish ve'ishto. A man lives in his house with his wife. It's sukkah ish ve'ishto. And I don't understand why the Gemara doesn't quote Tesvav Tesvav. Oh, that's going to probably come up later. The equation between matzah and sukkah. In any event, we see clearly that there was a havamina to say that women are obligated in sukkah. I'm not sure I understand this Gemara, because when it says Teishru Kain Taduru, that's a chiv on the man. The women have to go into the sukkah in order to facilitate the kiyama mitzvah of the man. That doesn't mean that there's an obligation that devolves upon the women themselves. In any event, the Gemara offers a second answer in the name of Rava.